Live we are again. It is another edition of Ahysen Nation. How do? It is Tuesday. We like to say in the studio, not a Monday.
Not a Monday.
Not a Monday. Liz Koh is joining us this week. Next week, a week from today, we have Mayor Pro Tem Lamont Cole will be with us, and he's going to bring a teacher with him, and they're going to be talking about a back-to-school backpack giveaway. Which will be the following weekend. So join us 1 week from today at 10 o'clock. We'll be on a little bit earlier. I'm running late today because I had to go make coffee. But I think you and I are the only two that make coffee already. I'm sorry.
Oh, Matt does too. Once in a blue moon.
I haven't seen him do that.
You make some good coffee at that.
So anyway, Lamont Cole will be here next Tuesday, and we'll be on at 10 o'clock. So make sure you join us live on WAFB Plus, Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV. These will also be available to you after the broadcast. Just go look for them on our social platforms, and you can watch them at your own leisure. So Liz decided that she was going to compliment our show today by being on the show with us, and I'm so excited that she is. We want to get to know Liz. Obviously, we all do know her, but we want to know her a little bit better. And first of all, welcome to the Big Ahysen Nation broadcast.
I'm honored. This is better than being on Ellen, than on Oprah. This is big time.
Okay.
I follow Julie Ted. She was on your show last year.
She was, and she may be on it again. Yes.
I know.
With the Big Brother thing. Do you follow Big Brother?
I don't. I need to. So, interesting fact. My sister, she did a stint where she was trying to figure out her life in LA, so she moved out there on a whim. She actually auditioned for Big Brother, got all the way through, and it started getting messy. Producers were calling people in her life to try to stir things up, and she's like, this is where I'd drop the ball. I'm not going this far.
See, that's my thought about reality TV. Mm-hmm. They do that, don't they? I mean, They plant seeds like, I want you and her to have a conflict. I've got to believe it's orchestrated a little bit.
Oh, it is. Producers have their eyes on everything. And now with social media, it makes it even easier to track your timeline. Who are you dating? Who are you friends with? Where did you have a falling out? It's crazy.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Well, that's Big Brother. It's on CBS Sunday nights, Wednesday nights, and live eviction on Thursday nights right here on Channel 9. So, Liz Koh, how did we get blessed with you here at Channel 9? I want to talk to you about what got you into journalism, what got you into the bug. Obviously, you've got the look, but what made you want to get into this crazy news industry?
So it's funny you ask. I was in high school. I didn't even know that this was a viable career option. So I was actually pursuing pharmacy, but math and science are not my forte. I don't enjoy it. But my dad was like, you can find a job in nursing or as a pharmacist anywhere in the world. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. But then at the time, the church I was going to, the small group, youth group leader was like, you talk a lot. I feel like you would be great in journalism. He worked for his high school newspaper at the time and was like, I think you would enjoy like a broadcast track. I didn't know what that meant at the time. So this was all while I was in junior high. He was in high school. So he was telling me about this course that you could do. So in high school, I took a few newspaper courses. And then come time applying for colleges, I applied for broadcast journalism at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I happened to get in. Yeah.
You said like that's a surprise that you got in.
It was just for a minute. I wasn't sure where it was going or what I was going to do because that was the only school that had the track that I wanted specifically for broadcast. So I said, okay, Lord, if this is meant to work out, it's going to work out. And it did.
Did you ever consider print media?
I did, but it wasn't as fun as TV. I love the idea of getting video. I love the idea of talking to people and showing that because I feel like print journalism is very important. It's very vital in how you structure sentences and how you tell a story. I'm not so good at that part of it. I like talking to people and letting them tell the story. It's just we fill the details in with the facts and whatever comes in for it, but you get to express emotion when you talk to people and you get to show the interview and you get to hear from the actual person. I just feel like it's a more visceral reaction when you hear from the person you're talking to, you as the viewer, you know?
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, I think a higher power, in my case, God, has guided some of us into the area that we were especially equipped to be in because you're so darn good at that.
That's so nice. Sometimes I feel like, this is where God has me right now. And, you know, whatever you believe in, whatever higher power you believe, sometimes I believe it's the universe. I know it's crazy, but whatever you believe has led to where you are, I think is definitely for a purpose, right? And so when you talk about finding your calling and finding your passion, right now, this is it. And I feel exactly where I'm supposed to be right now.
So where was high school for Liz Koh? Where'd you grow up?
High school, Hoffman Estates, Illinois. It is a small suburb, a northwest suburb of Chicago. A lot of people are familiar with Schaumburg. That's where the Motorola was headquartered at the time. My dad actually worked there as an HVAC technician. Wow. So it's from a northwest suburb of Illinois, of Chicago, and then went to college at University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And then, believe it or not, after graduating, 4 years of broadcast journalism, I did internships at NBC Chicago, at the ABC affiliate in Champaign. I could not find a job. Johnny, I applied to 60 to 80 different stations across the United States.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that. My Excel chart that I had all those stations. I reached out to the news directors. I sent them CD discs of my reel. I didn't get a single bite out of college. So didn't pan out. My sister and her husband, they own and operate barbecue restaurants in North Carolina. They were like, why don't you come work for us? We're short-staffed. We need a baker. We need a dish pit worker. We need someone to run food. Just come work for us and keep applying for jobs. So I lived with them for a year and a half. That's the best experience I think I could have done in my entire life. Everyone should work. If you're young and you're watching this, everyone should work in retail or service industry at some point in their life, just to know how people operate. Because when you're behind the kitchen staff in an apron and when you're in the dish pit, people see you a little bit differently than if you were on the other side. And so that was just eye-opening life experience. And I think that was great in terms of doing that before I went into the broadcast world, the journalism world.
Well, I got to tell you, I was, like you said, in food service in college. Loved it. Mm-hmm. Loved it. Do you think back then, now Julie Chen talks of her early days in broadcasting, and she talks about the element of being Asian being a problem for her. Do you think that played into why you weren't being looked at seriously? Or?
It's a good question. I personally don't feel like that. I think it was a matter of you're just not ready. I genuinely believe that. I don't think that's like a degrading way or like a self-depreciating way or anything. I think it's because of people who have paved the path. You look at Connie Chung, you look at Julie Chen, you look at Juju Chang on ABC, all of these people who have paved the way. I definitely think there is a market for people who are of a certain race or ethnicity, but I don't think in today's day and age people are hiring to fill that need or because she's not good enough or she's Asian so I didn't like her. At least that's not the impression that I got. I just got the vibe that they either weren't looking or I wasn't ready for the job at the time. But that might be a personal thing. I don't know.
That's cool. That's big of you to say.
Personally, that I feel like that's my experience. I can't speak for everyone though.
I certainly hope that's true. So getting into the news industry, and I brag on Channel 9 all the time because sometimes I have to defend us because certain people want to paint us as leaning politically one way or another. And when I watch the newscast that we do, I don't feel that. I don't see that. So as a journalist, and I'm not a journalist, I'm a radio guy that's doing traffic and having a blast. But as a journalist, there's so many sensitive topics and so many very sensitive things going on, not only locally, but nationally and internationally. How do you know two things? A, what you're going to report on, and B, when you decide on you're going to report on it, how to report that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so let's start with the first question. In terms of how we decide what to report, it's kind of a culmination of things, right? From what's happening in the news of the day, what is dictating what we cover. More often than not, that will decide what the coverage is, and then we'll decide how to cover it. So, for instance, right now, the big topic of conversation is both gun reform and abortion. Both issues are highly sensitive. Both issues have wide-ranging opinions. There's one side or the other, and you've got staunch advocates on both sides. So here's where I think journalism training comes into play. Everything we've been taught in journalism school, how to be objective, how to report the facts without letting your personal feelings get in the way, I think you really need to carefully think about that when you're covering such heated topics, because you may feel strongly one way or the other about it, right? No matter, personally, you may be affected by it, but when it comes to presenting the facts, that's what you have to do, just present it as is. Now it's getting hard to do that because of how political a lot of things have been, but how personal things have been too. I think you're seeing a lot more topics where people are personally touched by it. You know more people who, you may have a personal friend, you may have a parent who has been affected by it. So you feel the need to weigh in on a more personal level. It's hard to sway people, right? When it comes to, you want someone to see one side of it, but you might think you're trying to persuade someone to see on one side of it so much that you might appear to be skewed in one view of it. I think that's where it come across as during the election, we saw very heated sides of, I am for President Biden, I am for President Trump, and you saw both extremes of it. And I think the media gets caught in between trying to cover both sides of it, but sometimes when you go out to cover a story like the election or the abortion or gun reform, you're going out there as a journalist trying to cover both sides of it with the good intention of finding both sides, but sometimes you go and talk to people at a supermarket, at a gas station, you're only getting one side of it. Sometimes you don't get that person on camera who believes the opposite of the opinion you just got. So it's hard at the end of the day when you're there to present your story and they don't see the effort that you put into your story, right? So you don't know all the work that has gone in from 9 a.m., from 8:30 when people are getting in, making those calls. You just see the end product and you're saying that's one-sided. So it's hard to make that judgment when a story goes to air and you see the final product and you don't know the intentions that went into formulating that story. Does that make sense? I feel like we kind of went in a circle.
No, I think it does, very much so. I just don't hear Channel 9 being a conservative TV station or a liberal TV station, which brings me into my next question. We all have opinions. Every single one of us have opinions, some of them very strong and very rooted and very deep inside of us. If you as a journalist have to report on something, like you said, some of the abortion and the gun especially, so controversial, how do you come on the air, or is it difficult to come on the air and be neutral, knowing how you really feel and what you really want to share? Because I've worked with you for years, I don't even know your political affiliation. That's how neutral you are on the air. And I don't think we should, as a viewer, know your political affiliation.
I agree. But to your point, it is hard because you can't help but think about yourself in certain situations like abortion or gun reform. Or I can't stop thinking about the Uvalde mass shooting. I don't have children, but Matt does, Steve does. And I think in my mind, God forbid, what if this happened to somebody I knew? What if it happened to my niece or nephew? And you can't help but put yourself in that situation. But when you tell somebody these stories, you have to remember there's someone on the other side of it that also feels so strongly about what they believe, and they think they're right too. So I really think when you are in this role as a journalist, you have to be very empathetic to not only see your side as right, because in your heart of hearts, you think you're right? But in your job, it's different. You've got to understand that there's someone on the other side of the world, the other side of the state, the other side of our city, on the same issue, could think completely differently because of how they were raised, because of what they believe, because of what they've read, the research they've done. And I think if you are empathetic enough to try to understand their side, you're going to try to tell the story in the lens of, well, how would somebody else see it on the opposing side? But I think that's what we lack a lot of now is empathy, because we believe so strongly what we think to be is right that you're not even hearing someone else.
Well, I think that's not just true in the journalism world, in the world.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, 100%.
World. On the anchor desk, here or some other places. Where did you start? Where did you start in television?
KPLC TV in Lake Charles,
What got a
Louisiana.
Chicago girl to Louisiana?
I'm telling you, so I was in Asheville, North Carolina at the time. Charles Haldeman, he was the first news director who gave me a shot. Everyone else said, it's not pass, it's not going to work for us, we don't have any opportunities for you at the time. He was the first news director to believe in me and give me a job in Lake Charles. And to this day, I think I am where I am because Charles Haldeman gave me a shot. He was both wise and hard and tough on me, but also loving in the sense that he molded me to be a good journalist. He would tell me when I needed critique, and I needed a lot of critique coming into this. Like my first year and a half, Johnny, were rough, but he was a perfect teacher in guiding me and making criticisms that I needed to hear. He was hard on me at times, and there were even life lessons I learned, you know. Fun story. We have station units that we drive to get to stories, to do interviews here and there, and we have these awful cement posts that just got in the way of parking some of these units. Well, I had scratched one of them coming out, but I was on my way to a story, I was breaking news, I was late to it, I had scratched it, and it slipped my mind, and I didn't tell him until the end of the day. He was furious. And within reason, it's company policy. As soon as an accident happens, as soon as something happens with the station unit, you need to report it right away. And he let me have it. He was like, I don't know if it's young people these days, I don't know if it's urgency, you need to follow the code. If something says, if you get into an accident or you scrape something, you need to let us know, you need to report it right away. I wasn't even thinking about that because I'd never been in that kind of situation. But I do think it's just a small example like that. Things like that I needed to be told in my first job to know what the precedent is going forward. Like even if I were to go to another company, independent of news, I feel like the policy would be the same thing that way. But if I weren't told that from the get-go, how would I ever know that down the line? But even in storytelling, if he told me to tell it this way, or not in the sense of like what you're skew it one way. How do we tell the story so it's fair? How do you tell it both sides? How do you remain objective in this? Or how about you write it this way so it's clearer for the viewer to understand? He was very critical in all of the young journalists that came in, and I'm so grateful for that experience because I needed that.
Well, I don't think any one of us were top of our game when we first started. No matter what industry you're in, you're just not. So you've had enough TV under your belt now, and you're at the big dog. What do you have any fun stories or any kind of scary stories from the anchor desk? Anything unexpected? Anything that made you really uncomfortable on the air? That a prompter went out, or has anybody come up underneath you and lit your copy on fire or something?
I would hope there's no such sabotage. Like
in radio, there certainly was when we're reading the news. Yeah, somebody would come in here and light your copy on fire that you were reading on the air at the time. But do you have any kind of fun, lighthearted stories from anything that comes out to mind?
Let's just blame it all on technology. Let's just blame technology because while it is a great thing, it's on the cutting edge of medical advances and cancer treatments, and technology is great for the most time, except for when it doesn't work. And so we rely on a system. Our show is coded to make it easier for people, where we rely on a system run by computers, ultimately run by humans, that tells us what is coming up next. So let's say like you're about to watch a video of Napa, wineries in Napa, and we expect there to be videos of wineries in Napa. But then the coding system runs errant and then pops up video of a forest fire in Texas. But what you're looking at, what you're expecting to talk about is wineries in Napa. So when things go rogue like that, you've got to think quick and think of, okay, well, I know what I'm supposed to be talking about. You've got to think on the fly. Or if you're reading the teleprompter, sometimes the information in the teleprompter can be incorrect just because everyone's trying to work and figure out what's happening next. You're trying to read the teleprompter while reporting live in real time. You're trying to think what is correct while reading it through. And I don't think the average viewer at home realizes how much mental gymnastics happens.
While people are talking in your ear at the same time.
That too.
Sometimes they talk to other anchors and don't realize they've got your button pushed, and you're hearing, you'll see us sometimes do like that. And there's a reason for that. We're not being rude or ugly. Well,
Don't be messy.
I've been accused of being rude and ugly. But
It's
again,
tough,
I'm not a
though.
journalist. I'm just a traffic reporter.
You do a lot,
So, but that's too wild.
Yeah.
So, aspirations. I mean, obviously, you are really have honed your game. There's no question about that. We're so fortunate to have you here, and I'm just praying to goodness we get to keep you for a while, because now, unlike when you got out of school, you are being sought. And I think I can very definitely see you on a national platform without
That's so
question.
nice, Johnny.
And that excites me and depresses me at the same time, because I know eventually that move is going to happen. And just cherish time that we have with you now. But I mean, do you miss places like Chicago or Asheville or things like that?
I miss it for the people. Obviously, living down here has spoiled me so much. The first winter I lived in Lake Charles compared to even North Carolina or Chicago, such a big difference. One winter down here, you do not want to go back. I don't want to shovel snow at all anymore between December and April. They're still getting snow up in April. I just don't think I would enjoy that. So I've come to be very happy down here. And I will say, I love Lake Charles because it's so special. It's a very unique place to call home, but everyone is so kind. And that's the first taste I got of Louisiana hospitality. But Baton Rouge has felt like the first place it's felt like home in a really long time, like home.
But you know, we create our own situation a lot of times, and you've embraced this city, you've embraced this culture, it has embraced you back. I mean, you've ingrained yourself in the city, and you get out and about, and you have fun, you play. I mean, I can see why this market has so embraced Liz Koh, because you have become the market. And being a spokesperson for the market on, you know, such a powerful platform and things like that. But I could definitely see you on a national platform without question. And I think a lot of other people can too. I think it's a matter of time, and I'm just hoping it's not anytime soon.
Just know I am really happy here for now. You guys, it's hard to think about even leaving you, Matt, Steve, our morning show people, Callie, Dia, just all the people who make this place home. But not only that, it's outside of work too. It's your personal life balance, right? And I feel like wherever you move, it's what you make of it. You can choose to move to a city and hate it. You can choose to move wherever and hate it. It's all what you choose to make of something. You can choose to go make friends. It's all dependent on you. You can complain that, oh, such and such place blows or such and such place is not fun. Well, have you actually sought out opportunities that might be for you, whether you're a runner or a biker or you're a foodie or you enjoy drinking or you enjoy all the things? There's something here for everybody. So it's what you make of it. And like you said, when you embrace it, it'll embrace you back tenfold.
Oh, and I didn't move from as far away as you did. I moved here from the Houston area.
Yeah.
And the first party, little outdoor festival I went to in Pierre Part, Louisiana, I didn't know what they were saying.
Yeah.
They were speaking English. I had no idea what they were
That's
saying.
Cajun for you.
But you have just you
No.
embraced that. I love that.
It's because I was baptized on I-12 during the flood.
Oh, you got to tell them that
Yeah.
story. You got to tell them that story.
Look.
Your very first assignment here was covering the 2016?
It was my second assignment. First day back to school, but first day was back to school in Bruley. I was at Bruley High School. It was welcome back to school. They were welcoming the kids back. It was so exciting. Fanfare, cheerleaders, football players. And then the second day was, oh, it's raining. And then it just kept raining and it didn't stop. It just hovered over our viewing area. And so the first day, I remember it so vividly, Johnny. We were live in Zachary. Unfortunately, that's where they found the first fatality as a result of the flood waters rising so quickly. We moved from Zachary to Central to Baker to the schools where the schools were seeing flooding. And it was just crazy because it was such a blur. And then they come back for the third day, and then they send us to Livingston Parish where the 911 center had taken in water. And so they wanted us to go report out there and the people evacuating. Well, we were making our way, me and James DeGraw, one of our photographers, our chief photographer, were making our way to a church, trying to get from Walker, I believe, to Holden. We got stuck in I-12 traffic along with thousands of other people trying to evacuate. We just got stuck there, and the waters just kept rising and rising and rising. I will never forget. I think I met half of Denham Springs that day, everyone trying to evacuate. But we were out there, I think, for 15 hours until National Guard evacuated us, and our news director picked us up from the Millerville Target there. Oh, gosh.
Were you ever at that time afraid for your life with the floodwaters coming up? Did you ever think this really might end up, because as reporters and journalists and traffic reporters, we're out covering things and nothing can happen to us because we're in the media, but things do happen to us. We're people. And did you ever get nervous or uncomfortable that this wasn't going to end well?
By hour 6, I started getting nervous. So my mom had called and she was like, I see on the national news, like it's really bad there. I was like, yeah, I think we're going to sleep on the interstate. And saying that out loud is when it hit me. But we didn't even have it bad. Like I'm in my mind visibly, I see moms with newborn babies trying to figure out how they're going to feed their babies. Or you had people sliding down the interstate ramps, trying to find a way to get onto these National Guard rescue vehicles. Like as much as you think your reality is bad, you look at the next person, you're like, at least I don't have children with me. At least I'm not trying to feed a newborn baby. Like, as scared as you are, you can't help but think of the next person who's even more scared, because you're collectively suffering. You're in it together, which I think is the one comforting thing. But there's some images that you just never forget. Like all of the cars at Team Toyota, you don't know if they're new cars or used cars or people are in them, but all of them floating. Like that image is still so vivid in my mind.
That is crazy. You are absolutely a gem. I could go on, but as a good journalist, she's got work to do so that she can leave at a decent hour. And there's some exciting news that she's going to be involved in first part of August. She's not coming off the morning show, but we'll share that with you on the air and on our social platforms first or second week of August. It's pretty exciting.
Oh, I love you. This was so nice. So sweet.
Liz Koh, our special guest on the Big Asian Nation today. I can't thank you enough, and I'll be seeing you in the morning. And I'm going to walk around the corner a couple of times and see if Matt does make coffee.
Just wait. Hold him to it. Hold his feet to the fire or burn his copy.
See you guys later. Bye.